Recording live now, Mr. Ryan Lilla with 365 Strength and Conditioning in the house.
Crazy. First one of these, man.
Yeah. Well, you listen to a lot of podcasts, but what's it like to be on a podcast?
It's, it doesn't feel any different, honestly. I'm staring at a screen and you're at a mountain, which I know is not true, but hey, weird time we're in.
Why can't it be true?
That's true. What is perception? Perception of reality.
Ooh, we're going to get deep on this call.
We're going to get real deep right away. Let's throw some bombs in there. Boom.
Ryan, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. What do you do? What's going on in your world right now? Talk to me.
The world's kind of crazy. My world's kind of nice right now. I'm just hanging out outside, doing lots of DIY stuff around the house with my bikes. Just trying to stay active, stay healthy. But so in Bellingham, I run a strength and conditioning business, like you said. Been doing it for almost 3 years now, so it's been successful. Graduated from Western back in 2017, immediately started working. Been in the fitness industry for almost 10 years now, doing training of some sort. So just been getting after it.
Yeah, man. And you're also one of the coaches at Western for the rugby program.
Yeah. So in 2012, my first year at Western, I started playing rugby and loved it. Stopped playing, but wanted to stay involved with the program. So gotten involved with volunteering as a strength and conditioning coach because I knew how to lift weights and teach people some things. So been involved with them since 2015, I think was my first year. So even though our season is over now, it would have been 5 seasons. So doing strength and conditioning, and over the last 2 years, I've actually started coaching more, which has been awesome. I love coaching. Coaching is almost like a retreat for me, in the sense of I get to kind of give my knowledge and help people, or help young men, especially in rugby, just learn how to be better by what they're doing on the field, and hopefully taking some lessons past just the game. So yeah, I love it.
How many lessons do you feel like you've pulled from being an athlete, in your personal life, your professional life? How important is that? Not necessarily that everyone needs to be an athlete, but what has that been like?
I would say definitely being an athlete. So for me, I always played sports. I didn't really play conventional sports. Played all the team sports in grade school, whatever. That doesn't really count. High school, I played golf. Golf was my main sport. My senior year, I wrestled. And then during that whole time, I played paintball on a paintball team at a local field. And every single weekend, junior and senior year, was dedicated to paintball. So we would travel. We went down to California a couple times. So that was pretty serious. But came to school. I took 3 years off before I came to school. Just messed around, figured out what I wanted to do. But when I came to school, I wanted to get back into athletics. So I was going to reach out to the golf coach at Western. He never reached back to me. So I was walking around in Red Square one day, and a rugby player came up to me and goes, "Hey, you ever played rugby?" "No." "You know what it is?" "No." "You want to play?" "Sure." So that was kind of how I got hooked up with rugby. But one of the big things I always tell my athletes is the best thing that sports teach you is time management. Like, a lot of guys are like, "Oh, I don't have time, Lil. Like, I can't come out and play this quarter. I've got 16 credits. I've got a girlfriend, and I'm trying to get big." It's like, okay, well, you can keep the girlfriend. You can get big after the season's over, and rugby will teach you sport will teach you how to manage your time better. So that's honestly the biggest thing for personal and professional that sports taught me, for sure. I'm sure you can relate to that, being a soccer player, but when you're practicing, we only practice 5.5 hours a week in reality. We practice Tuesday and Thursday evenings, and then Wednesday at 6 a.m. So it's not a lot of practice time, but it gives you some structure to your days. So it definitely teaches you some skills. And then once you leave and real life hits, you start to realize what a schedule is actually like. So it helps.
Yeah, no, because college and our early life is not really a good indicator, or necessarily even a good preparation for a lot of life skills that we have. And I'm not, maybe you're hearing a little bit of bias in there, but I think we can both agree that addition of sports mean, it puts so much pressure on you to be really efficient with your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me more about that. Yeah.
It's also, I mean, why does it put that pressure? Because it's stress. Like sports give you stress. It's both stress and eustress, like good stress and bad stress, but it just gives you some sort of stimulus that causes a reaction. And that reaction, how you choose to react to that stimulus, is kind of a good preview of what life is like. Oh, I lost my job. Crap, what am I going to do? I'm going to sit and mope, or am I going to call my parents and mooch off of them, or file for unemployment? What am I going to do? Like, you're going to get back on the horse and look for another job. Like, that's something that, I mean, that can be transpired through a lot of things, but sports definitely helps that. We're a club sport at Western. We're not a varsity program, so it kind of, you have to work for a lot more things as a club sport. You're not handed as many things like varsity programs are. Like, nothing against them. They worked for it, but they definitely don't have to go to practice at 9 p.m. sometimes. Or, I mean, the hockey team, they go to practice at like 10 p.m. or 11 sometimes, and then they're not done till midnight or 1 a.m. Like, that's crazy. Yep. But I bet if you went over to the East Coast, where hockey's huge, like, they're probably getting ice time whenever they want. So I don't know. That's just the bias of club sports to varsity sports. But yeah, I mean, that kind of is a good transfer of going into the real working world. Like, people that are qualified doesn't necessarily mean they deserve it, but they may get it. So,
but it's all about, I mean, we'll dive into hard work, nature, nurture, all of the above, all the fun stuff that I know you want to talk about, and I want to talk about with you too. Let's just get this out of the way, because I don't want to make this whole conversation about the current situation that's going on. But I want to hear about, we're all starting to hear about COVID-19 in January. What's going on in China. We're like, oh, that's never going to hit us. All of a sudden, boom, it's in Washington State. For you, your business is people. Your business is physically empowering people and training people from a technical standpoint on how to be healthy, right? And be stronger and be prepared for life. What happened? How did this impact you? What was your first thought? Where did you end up? Like, where are you now? Are you in a different place than you were when this first hit you?
I mean, there's a few different things I can say about that. I put a couple notes on my whiteboard over there, so I don't say anything I shouldn't.
No, this is where you can say whatever you want to say. This is your
platform. Censorship, right? So the biggest thing, let's go from the perspective of me working with my clients, and just so everybody knows, Leo is one of my clients. So the biggest thing that I feel for my clients is the biggest difference is they just don't have access to the gym anymore. My biggest thing whenever anybody asks me, am I doing online Zoom training sessions or whatever, it's like, well, no. I mean, I really haven't had anybody ask for that. I've had people ask if I'm doing it, and then I ask them, well, would you want to do it? And they say, no, I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, exactly. So my big philosophy with training and exercise in general is one of the first things I always tell people. My goal isn't for you to come to me because you need to. It's you to come to me because you want to work with me. Like, the biggest thing, and this kind of relates back to sports too, is athletes or people in general, if they're in a program or they're working with a trainer or they're on a team sport and they're just being handed the workouts and being told what to do, are they learning anything? Not if they're not a self-learner. So my biggest thing is I'm trying to educate people. I mean, you can attest for this. Like, if we're doing something, I'm telling you the rationale of why we're doing it and where we're going to go and where we came from. So that's the big thing. It's not just, here's the workout, let's do it. So from a perspective of where am I at with my clients and whatnot, it's kind of just like a prolonged time off. So they know what they're doing. I've wrote a couple of home workouts based on what people have. I've been posting a lot of like field workouts that people can go to a park or Civic. Actually, Civic's I think is closed, or wherever they can run and just go do a sprint workout or a jump workout or something like that. But as far as me working with people, it's just not working and helping people as much as I can work from home. So it's honestly, I'm not too worried about it. Everybody's pumped to get back to it and get back and crush in the gym. Like, I'd say at least once every other day I get a text like, hey, are we back to it yet? I'm like, nope. So everybody will know. But that's kind of my perspective with that. As far as my perspective with where we're at in society and how everybody's thinking about it, actually, one of the things I heard from one of the Building Bellingham podcasts you did, I don't remember who it was, but somebody said they told all of their clients to shut off the news. And to me, that's like, well, yeah, I mean, if you just submerge yourself in all the bad news, like, you know what we need to do. And when something's going to change, it's going to be known. It's not necessarily something that you just need to dwell on all that negative energy. Like, it's just like when in fact, I think I was talking to you and Dylan about this when it was first starting, when people were starting to freak out and wasn't necessarily in Whatcom County yet. People are starting to like call 911, like, oh, I have a cough. They're thinking themselves into being sick. And that's very possible. Like the psychology of healing and sickness and all of that can definitely influence if you're going to get sick or if your immune system is going to be compromised. So if you're just dwelling on all that negative energy, is it doing anything good for you? No. So don't watch the news. I mean, when something is going to happen and something big is going to change, like we're going to get to go back to work for those people that are out of jobs right now, or there will be no more social distancing, which I don't see anywhere, anytime near in the future. I feel like there's going to be kind of a 6-foot suggestion, strongly encouraged suggestion for quite some time, honestly. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing either. It just kind of shows how easily germs are passed. Big thing kind of sideway here, but pet peeve of mine, if you're a gym person that's really sweaty and you don't wipe off the bench after, I'm pointing at you right now and looking at you in the face, wipe your stuff after this is all over, man or woman. So, but yeah, that's kind of my whole stance on where we're at. I feel bad for people that are wearing their masks when they're walking around outside by themselves. Like that's such a scary world they're living in. Like granted, maybe if they have an immune system that's compromised or a pre-existing condition, then I get it. But if you're walking around by yourself outside, I mean, I'm not a medical professional, but I don't feel there's a need to wear a mask if you're by yourself outside. Like that's crazy. But
There's
yeah,
certain situations where it
world.
makes sense, but it's not everywhere all the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's my stance on it. As far as limiting contact, like, yeah, don't be an ass and spend a bunch of time with a bunch of people you don't need to be spending time with. Like, stay at home, do your own thing, and just take time to develop yourself. Don't just go and talk to people or whatever. Like, there's no need to be doing that. I mean, one thing I've learned from all this is, and I put this one as a note on the board over there, like, we live too broad outside of our initial community. So for me, right now, in the last, let's see, we're on week 6 now, I've been riding my commuter bike everywhere, except for the grocery store because I get too many groceries, so I can't carry them. But literally, like my commuter bike, I ride it everywhere. If I'm gonna go like pick up carry out or pick up a growler from Colshan or whatever, like I ride my bike there to do it. I don't drive my car 1, 2, 3, 4 miles. Like that's crazy. It's just like we live so much more abroad than we need to be, and that's one thing that I'll definitely take from this whole situation. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for people to take those little golden nuggets out of this whole thing, and hopefully people do, because if they don't, then it's just sad. Like that's a waste. Got to take something good from everything. So
Wasted opportunity. And just for everybody that's watching, I did the most recent, actually Britic and I did the most recent field workout, which was great. I haven't sprinted like that in a long time. I was sore. Got
nice.
me good. But
Nice.
yeah, it's interesting. So Ryan, let's talk a little bit about like some pivot points in your business and in your life. So being like switching from like, I love that whole mentality of like the people that work out with you should be self-accountable and self-disciplined to, and should be self-learning, self-taught in the sense that outside of, they shouldn't fall off the workout or the fitness mentality when they're not physically in the gym with you, which is great. Why we work out one day a week. It's perfect. I mean, we get all like realigned, everything's good. And then we go out in there and hit it hard the rest of the week. And one of the things, or a couple of the things that have changed is not only have you not gone to the Zoom in the Zoom direction, but you've also said, hey, I'm going to be outside. I'm going to be doing this workout out at the field. Do you guys want to join me? And so tell me a little bit more about how you've shifted that to be outside, how you maintain safety and health and all of the above.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really done a ton of come join me type of thing, just because that's like, again, one of those things of, is it necessary to spend time with those people? No, but like all those workouts that I post, like I will have done them before so that I know what it feels like and I know what should come out of it and how you should feel. And if it's too much, not enough, not that I'm some crazy superstar elite athlete, but I feel like I'm pretty average or slightly above average, maybe. No shame in that one. But so yeah, it's just, yeah, it's a weird time, man. Weird times we're in.
Yeah. Yeah. So so one of the cool parts, we talked the other day, we've been talking a lot about this concept of being lean and not just physically lean. I know that's something that, we're talking about fitness right now, but really you run a business and you're in a situation where it's not that you don't need to work, but you've set yourself up in a position that if you couldn't work, you would be okay. And how did you do that from a personal standpoint, a professional standpoint? How did you set yourself up? How did you weatherproof?
Yeah, gotcha. Actually, before I dive into that, you saying being lean made me think of something I wanted to say. It's actually pretty important. So one of the big things, I have a couple of clients who they're not clients necessarily, but like athletes who are like, oh, I need to do this to stay lean, or why I can't hit the gym, like I can't get strong, all this, all that. Hold on just a second, I'll be right back. I'm on a Zoom call right now. Yeah, you need something real quick? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Where's that? Of course. Gotta be a good neighbor, give out the bike pump there. So what I was saying about, being lean. One of the big things that I've had to address with some of my athletes is they're worried about losing their gains or losing their strength or losing their speed. If you think about, or this is how I think, like you go through phases of doing more work at a lower intensity or less work at a higher intensity. You go through these peaks and valleys of doing different things and attaining different fitness goals, whether it's for performance or aesthetics or whatever, but you're going to change based on what you do. So having the 6 weeks of maybe not being able to hit it hard, but you're doing a sprint workout here, you're doing a body weight workout here, like you're going to sustain your strength, your speed, your power. It's just doing it smart. So not just overdoing it and doing an hour of body weight stuff every day. Of course, you're going to lose your gains if you do that. Like you're just doing aerobic work. But it's just people get so worried about losing a gain or losing strength. It's going to come back. Like it's not that easy to just lose it right away. It's something that's built. It just doesn't fall apart overnight. So that was just, when you said being lean, that was one thing that reminded me about. I've had a couple of guys ask me about that. So as far as business wise, we're in a really weird place in society in the sense of, I'm actually reading a book right now called The Impulse Society, where we're just buying and we're consumers and we're like just eating everything up and we're living on credit. Like that's crazy. Like people don't live within their means anymore. So hopefully people that are in that situation, they're struggling, they'll learn that and they'll start putting money away. So like for me, one of my goals was I have X number of expenses. I'm going to put away X number so that I can sustain myself for 6 months. And that's one reason that I'm able to just kind of relax in this position and wait out the storm. But that whole mentality, I feel like it's kind of disappearing, or it's not thought of as a regular thing or a normal thing to do, which is a problem. Especially for business owners, like small business owners like myself. Like if you're going to put everything on the line, then you should definitely put away enough so that you can make it if it doesn't work out or you go through a lull. Like income isn't always consistent. I mean, I'm sure it's the same in real estate. 1 month you sell one house, 1 month you sell 17 houses. So just putting money away so that you can be comfortable for that 6 months. That's definitely one way that this has been a lot more, in quote, enjoyable. So
for somebody maybe that's not, like for you and I, we already our personal lives are already very lean, right? We already live very much within our means.
Yeah.
And like you said, there are a lot of people that are not living within their means. And obviously this whole experience hopefully will be a permanent lesson for people on how to live within their means, even if they're doing really well, not well, whatever it may be. For people that maybe are living paycheck to paycheck, starting up a business, what are some things you can do to reduce your expenses personally and business wise? And then how can you do that to increase your profit margin while you're, growing your business?
Honestly, the biggest easy one, and I feel like this just goes with how people operate from day to day, is stop eating out. Like, stop eating out so much, start cooking your own food, and stop going out for drinks so much. Like, I don't have anything against that, but make it a treat. Don't make it a regular thing. Like, if you, and I mean, I say this because like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I really like sat down and looked at all my expenses, and it blew my mind how much money I was spending on food and drinks. It's just like, what? Like, and I'm not a heavy drinker and I don't eat out a lot, but it's just like, how am I spending that much money? That's insane. So that was really like the first eye-opening experience that kind of was like, oh, stop spending that money. Like, you could do so much more with that, or have more experiences or whatnot. Or put it away so that you can, whatever it is, buy a car that's reliable, get a house, go on a international vacation, whatever. As far as things people can do just besides that, like, just live a little bit more frugal. Think about, so one thing I do before I purchase something, so like let's say a hobby or a leisure activity or thing, something that would support that, I'll open the tab, leave it open for at least 3 days. So that every time I open my computer, every time I open my phone, I'm like, oh, there's that. That's $500. Do I really want that? Or if I'm talking about it or thinking about, oh man, this would be cool if I could go do this right now, then yeah, I want it. I'm going to use it too. So there's nothing wrong with having hobbies or having toys, but people that have toys or have hobbies and they don't do them, that's silly. Like, don't waste your money.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So basically what you're saying is the 6 months reserves, it starts with, things like food and drink. And right now, obviously, if you're going to eat out, which we should be supporting local businesses right now. It's a great time to be doing that. It's not to say don't do that, but it's also to say do it maybe a little bit less often if we're talking about how you can
All right, thanks, man.
Cost. And drinking. I mean, it's crazy, and we don't need to get too far into it, but we're talking about health. I mean, drinking. I mean, it's fun, but it's expensive. It gets expensive. When's the last time you had a dinner and you had drinks with dinner and you realized that the margin of difference
right
from your food, right?
Especially if you get something fancy. That's crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy how fast that stuff adds up, and just those little simple things, they make a big difference. I mean, one of my clients is really into finances, so I've learned a lot from him, just as far as the way that he delegates things and puts things away and always says, okay, this percent's going here regardless of what's happening with it, or whatever that amount is. Like, this is going there. So that's like I strive to be like him a little bit more. But yeah, it's just having the intent and really following through with it. Like, that's a big thing. But the reason I say having hobbies and like not using them, I didn't have a mountain bike let's see, I grew up biking. That was like one of the big things I always did. And I just recently got one back in February, and I log all my hours and mileage that I do on it. And since February 16th, I've ridden 240 miles on Galbraith and logged like 43 hours over 17 rides, I think. Like, yeah, I'm using it. It's absolutely worth it. So that's a cool hobby. Now, if I were to get it and then only do it 1 hour, one time a week, is that justified? Maybe, maybe not. Like, it's just, if you're going to get something, you're going to do something, commit to it. Just like if you're being lazy or you're choosing to not do something that you should be doing. So like, say I do this often with writing programs, sneak peek of how I get to write your programs. So I'll be writing something, I'll write the progressions, and I'll start like scrolling through Instagram, or I'll be like, oh, what show's on TV? And instead of just like half-assing it, I'll just dedicate fully to watching the show on TV or scrolling through Instagram. And I'll give myself that episode of whatever's on TV, or for me, I have a 20-minute time limit on Instagram a day. So until that 20-minute mark pops up, and then it's like, okay, back to work. But that's just like a discipline thing. You just got to do it. It's not easy to get those habits, but it happens with time. So
discipline. Yeah. Well, let's talk about, you mentioned Instagram, and one thing you and I have been kind of going back and forth about is this whole concept of social media and business. And that to me has been, again, it doesn't define your business by any means, and I don't want this to seem like that, but it does show people what you are doing. And for you, that has, you've been fighting it, man. We've been going back and forth about it, and we're pretty tell me more about this pivot point, this transition for you into saying, well, this is actually something that benefits my business. Tell me more about that.
I have an old man soul, I feel like, so that's why I kind of fret away from it. It's something new, and it's just, yeah, it is. Like I like books. I don't like reading things on my computer screen. But so the big thing I think that I realized in the last 6 weeks, and it's not necessarily that I need to post more or anything. It's just I was trying to overcomplicate what I was posting. Like I don't need to post anything like giving rationale of anatomy behind what I'm doing or like writing things out specifically. So recently, before the gym shut down, it was like, okay, I'm just going to record one set of every movement I do and then just throw it out there, throw out what I did. And I was getting so much feedback from that, and people were doing the workouts, and it's like, I really don't have to do that much in the sense of, excuse me, I don't have to write like really long explanations. And one big thing, like I use speak to text. For me, like there's probably errors in all of my captions. Don't really care. So it's just who I am in that sense. But it's just, I feel like too many people, and this is just the weird place we are with social media and fitness, especially. I mean, it's in all uh, jobs and whatnot, but social media and fitness, it's everybody's a guru and everybody knows what they're doing. But certified doesn't mean qualified. So like I'm not a personal trainer by trade, but a lot of people refer to me as a personal trainer. Like I don't have a personal training certification. I have a certified strength and conditioning coach through the NSCA. So, I mean, I don't necessarily enjoy when people call me a trainer, but that's a big mouthful to be like, oh, he's my strength and conditioning coach. So yeah, I mean, I just like coach, whatever, that works. Coach is a good one. But yeah, it's deciphering through all the BS on Instagram, especially to find the people that actually know what they're doing or know what they're talking about. Those people also don't have a ton of followers usually. So because of the algorithm and how it all works, they're not the most apt to show up. Um, it's also, I mean, I don't have a ton of followers on social media, but people that interact with me are either new to the game and trying to learn more in the sense of athletic development. Like I've had a couple of high schoolers reach out, that's awesome. Or they're people like myself who have their degree or their master's degree, and we're asking nerdy questions to each other, or we're just going back and forth on a movement or something we saw. So I don't know. I mean, it's cool. I see its value, but I'll never be the Instagram guru that just like makes tons of money off of it. I mean, I'm sure I could, but I don't necessarily want to. I don't necessarily feel that's fair, equal to, especially to the like the population that I want to target. So yeah, it's just a strange thing.
Yep, it's a learning experience. And
Yeah.
so, Ryan, how important right now, and this is, I don't want this to be too cliche of a question, but how important is, fitness and health and wellness right now? And why should it always be at the core of what we do? Hopefully this will get people to think more about it on a permanent, not just like, hey, I'm going to ramp it up and go to the gym January 1st to the 30th. I'm not going to eat gluten and whatever it is.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit more about how important is this at your core and at other people's core should this be?
I feel like hopefully people realize they don't need to spend so much time in the gym, and they'll value the time that they do spend in the gym. Because I mean, myself, like I like to bang weights. Everybody likes to go and throw some stuff around and do their whatever it is that they like to do in the gym. Hopefully they value that time more now, and it's not something that it becomes a chore, not a pleasure activity. So like that's the big thing for me personally is if I don't want to work out, I'm not going to work out. Like I'll wait until it's like, okay, I want to work out, or maybe I should work out type of thing. That's just me personally. I know that's not a normal mentality or an opportunity. I mean, I work in a gym, so I can do that, but I know not everybody can do that. But hopefully people will get to that point where it's a pleasure activity. It's not a chore. That's my big thing that I hope people take from it because they miss it. So hopefully missing it will kind of get some gears going of, oh, well, I actually do enjoy that activity, or I enjoy how it makes me feel or how it makes me look or whatever. So hopefully it just gets some gears going and people start prioritizing that, but prioritizing it in a sense that it's healthy from a mental perspective, not just a physical perspective.
Yeah.
That's one big reason I don't like social media necessarily is there's a lot of negative mental imagery and self-hate that comes from it, in the sense of people, both men and women, not enjoying how they look or enjoying how they feel or enjoying what they do when they go to the gym. So
It's because they
hopefully,
have so many people to compare to. If
yeah,
they,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. When in reality, like, that video is just a snippet of that person's day, and it's just this persona of people are making their online self versus their real self. Like,
yeah,
they probably spent, some people that just like take time and post tons and tons of videos and selfies or whatever. Like, think about how many takes or how many pictures or how many hours of edit or minutes of editing it took to make that picture. Like, that's crazy. It's one reason I don't like it.
yeah.
So
Completely understood on that. And I have to tell you that I came from a place of like, it was never about how I look. It was always about how I feel. Like, and I've become way more grounded in that, especially since I started working out with you and kind of got regrounded in my core as an athlete.
yeah,
And
that's awesome.
it's totally a mindset thing. It's a mental health thing. It's obviously it's a physical health thing, but I know the days that I work out, whether it's morning or afternoon, mentally, I'm just, I feel at peace
Yeah,
because I got it out of the way. I got out whatever was irking me that day, or I'm in just
yeah.
a really great place. So for you, how important is mindset, through all of this?
Mindset, that's funny. I was gonna ask you a question about that, like in the sense of that, but that's good. So what I was gonna say, if or when people come back from this, hopefully not having a gym is making people kind of explore some other workout type of things, whether it be yoga, meditation, breathing, just sitting and being present in that moment. But I mean, mindset's huge. I've read a lot and tried a lot of different things. Wim Hof, I know, Britick's talked about that. I don't know if you've done any of that, but
Yeah.
Wim Hof, like some Wim Hof breathing, man, that'll put you in a place. But I mean, mindset's huge. I'm reading one of the books I'm reading right now, Laird Hamilton, Force of Nature. In the beginning of the book, he's just talking about how we're so disconnected from our senses, and just like one of the easy ways of getting reconnected, just sitting and being present in the sense of, I'm going to focus on what my thoughts are doing and thinking about, okay, what am I thinking about? Like, if it bounces from thought to thought, let it bounce, but just follow it. And then maybe I'm going to look at something. If I look at something and something else catches my eye, like, what am I seeing? And like giving it that full recognition. My breath, how am I breathing? How does it make me feel? Like, what am I hearing? Maybe try to sit and listen to something that you haven't heard before. Like, I don't know about you, but when I'm out in nature where there's no human sound, and you just sit there or you lay there and you just try to listen to it, and you just hear that sound of like earth breathing, man, that's something crazy.
Just
Um,
wild. Or watch
yeah,
the
yeah,
trees sway.
yeah. Or like trying to, I don't know if you've ever done this, but you look at a specific tree, if you're like in a clear cut or a really heavily forested area, and there's a small breeze, and try to hear the sound from that one tree. Whoa, the amount of detail that you can hear is crazy.
So
But
you're taking these senses are a lot of the time subconscious, right? There's subconscious actions or movements or thoughts. And what you're doing through this book from learning about how to be more present is you're taking those and you're drawing them into the conscious almost, right? And
yeah,
analyzing them. And so why do you feel that it's, so important to have a connection with your senses?
I mean, we lose uh we don't lose the ability to feel the senses, but maybe we'll dull out certain senses. So maybe we'll see a lot of things, but we won't hear anything. Or like, we'll be walking through an area and you're only looking here when there's so much going around you out there. So it's just being observant. Like, I've always been a pretty observant person, just because of where I grew up, I feel like. But excuse me, if you're taking in more than just the immediate and you're just seeing everything around you, just getting in contact or getting in touch with those senses just makes you that much more aware of what's happening and what you're feeling. And just because you feel it doesn't necessarily mean you have to validate it, or just because you see it doesn't mean you have to give it credit or taste it, whatever it be. But yeah, it's just giving that full consciousness, being mindful. I guess what I'm getting at is senses will help you be mindful because you're seeing, feeling, tasting, smelling, whatever around you. So you're living in that moment, not the moment that happened in the past or not the moment that's going to happen in the future. So, yeah.
So we had, so Chrissy Mull, if you know her, she's an ultra marathon runner.
Mm-hmm.
She came on the show and she talked a lot about a constant. Like, what's that constant you can go back to that grounds you? For you, what's your constant? What's your ultra marathon running in Ryan's world, that when things go haywire in a day, that you can come back to, that's just like, this is me, this is who I am, and it just propels you forward in a good headspace?
I mean, that for me, I mean, it's always going to be the outdoors, like just getting somewhere away from a street, away from a house, away from anything that's built. But I feel like I'm lucky enough to have had time to explore and kind of hone in my own attention, I guess it would be, in the sense of like, so yesterday, perfect example, I was building a saddlebag for the backside of my commuter bike because I got tired of wearing a backpack. But for the hour and a half that I was doing that, I just lost track of all time, like didn't think about anything, didn't even know where my phone was. Like people don't do that enough, like forget where their phone is intentionally or not intentionally. But I guess it's just being present in the moment again. So just knowing what you're doing and giving yourself fully to that thing and not worrying about the outside distractions or the outside noise. I feel like that's a huge thing. But I guess the constant's going to be anything in the outdoors. So it depends on the season. Like right now, biking. Like right now, my bike's in the shop. I'm going to get it back today. Hopefully go for a ride later tonight. But something that brings you into that full focus of finding that flow state, especially. So smashing down a trail on Galby or paddling a kayak or whatever it is. But
So, and I think we could dive super far into this, but I'm going to keep it kind of more surface level on phones, and mental health and focus. I mean, we came from a place where, in the past, we didn't have the ability to change plans like this. We didn't have the ability to look up information as quick as we did. We had to use our resources. How important do you think it is, given the fact that we have all of this at our fingertips, to be a resourceful person? How are you a resourceful person, and how important is that?
it's important. I mean, you should definitely know how to use your resources, but there's a lot of BS out there that you can go to and find BS explanation of things.
Yeah.
That being said, like just because it's there doesn't mean you have to use it. So
Yep.
yeah, man, if someone asks a question, it drives me nuts how people immediately reach for the phone and ask Siri or type it into the search bar. Like just ponder it for a minute. Think about it. Try to work yourself through the problem. Don't just immediately go and search for the answer. Because I mean, a lot of the times, and I mean, this is a very generalized statement, but a lot of times questions are the answer to the question's right there. You just got to dig for it. So
Yep.
one of the best graduate assistants I had in college he was a functional grad TA, and he always answered a question with a question. And it drove me absolutely nuts, but I learned so much from that class because of him. So it's I mean, just you're validating or you're bringing attention to your question. So did you really need to ask that question? Most of the time, probably not. Did
Yep.
you ponder it before you asked it? Probably not. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, and something that, to kind of shift, something that you've been really pushing me on is, and one thing I love about doing our group sessions in the morning is that it starts off with a little bit of work talk, but when I'm at the gym, I want to like just be present there. And you've been pushing me to start making more time in my life for these things that I love to do, like mountain biking, hiking, being outdoors, and getting like back grounded in those things. Tell me a little bit more about like your experience, like maybe just personally with me, and what you've been recommending that I do. Maybe it's something that we can share with other people as well.
I mean, that's kind of so. That's a really open-ended question.
Take it where you want it.
So one of the main things people always first say when they come to me is, I want to lose weight. And okay, well, why? And I just keep digging and digging and digging because everybody was some sort of athlete. Maybe they weren't a conventional athlete, but they were some sort of athlete at some point. So it's getting back to essentially where they were at that point in time, usually is what it is. So it's then, okay, I found the source. I found why you came to see me. I mean, most people that come to see me have been athletes at some point, just because I don't really do any marketing. Everything's word of mouth for me. But so it's getting people to remember what it's like to be an athlete and kind of reframe their whole perspective towards working out and training and the end goal. Like the end goal is always evolving. So with you, like with you and the two guys you work out with, it's, I know where you wanted to be when you first came in, but think about how many things we've done to get there. And it hasn't just been talking about gym stuff too. Like we've talked about what you're doing outside of the gym. Like, are you making enough time for yourself? Like you said, like going out mountain biking, doing hikes, whatever. And that kind of goes back to just my personal experience with being able to, when I'm doing something, commit to doing it, not just half-ass it when I'm doing it. I mean, I still struggle with that. I'm not a guru with that or anything, but it's just bringing that awareness to that. So getting people to recognize that maybe that end goal that they want isn't just something you can work on in the gym. Like I'm only with you guys for an hour, sometimes 90 minutes a day. You have 23 hours in the rest of the day to mess that up. So, and that's one of the things I always tell my athletes too, is like, I have you guys 2 hours on Tuesday and Thursday, 1 hour on Wednesday. That's a lot of time for you to make bad decisions, to mess up what we just did. So thinking about not just the physical sense, but like we said, like the emotional, the mental, sleep is a huge one. Like people do not sleep enough. And screen time. Yeah. Getting all this blue light exposure, man. Oh, it's horrible. But
These things.
yeah. Ooh. Ooh, you just got 10 IQ points. Put those things back on.
All right, I'll put them back on. So here.
There you go. No, so yeah, like just bringing awareness to all the other factors, that it's not just working out. It's more than working out. It's what are you doing after you're working out? How are you going about the rest of your day? Are you drinking enough water? Are you sleeping? Like, yeah, there's a lot of different things that, I mean, we've talked about tons of stuff throughout our sessions, and everybody's different. Like you probably noticed, all individually ask the three of you on Wednesday mornings, like, how are things going? And I'll have individual conversations with each of you guys as you're warming up, just to kind of see where we're at for the day, so that I can see if my plan for the day is really going to work, or is it going to have to be skewed a little bit. So that's just awareness of your population and your clientele for that day.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and you know, one thing that I think you and I have also talked a lot about is this whole perception of like, there's a lot of silver linings, there's a lot of opportunities in moments like this, and it's not always economic gain, it's not always an opportunity to grow your business. But for you personally, what are you seeing as like, is this a great time to be focusing more on your health? Is this a great time to be becoming, you know, replacing habits with new habits? What do you see as from a health perspective as being some silver linings and some really big opportunities for growth?
For me, or for like general everybody?
Talk about you a little bit, and then let's maybe
Okay.
make it a little bit more broad after that.
For me, I mean, like I was talking about earlier, in the sense of staying within your area, that's been the huge one. I mean, my morning routine's pretty much the same all the time. Like I try to give myself minimum 30 minutes to read in the morning, wake up, hit go on the coffee, read for a bit, and then go about the day. But I've definitely realized that going slow isn't a bad thing. Like slowing down, like today I read until 11 and I started at 7:45. I mean, I was on my phone a little bit here and there, but I mean, I plowed through a couple chapters and took it in and really took my time reading it. If you're a reader, best way, I got this tip from a buddy of mine. Have a note card as your bookmark, put notes on it with page numbers. Game changer. Because then when you go to reference a book to somebody, you're like, oh, here's all these good things, and here's the pages they're on.
It's your Cliff Notes. It's
Cliff
Ryan notes. Our notes.
Exactly. But yeah, so, and I mean, health, I feel like my personal philosophy in fitness and where I want to be is pretty sound. I just want to be ready. My overall goals for life for fitness are to never not be able to break into a full sprint and hurt myself, and do a change of direction and not hurt myself. Those are my 2 fitness goals. Boom. Lifetime fitness goals.
It sounds simple, but it's actually quite a bit more complex than it seems.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, you think about, well, I mean, normal population probably doesn't think about this, but the biggest ACL and Achilles injuries that they do replacement wise, I don't know if this is still accurate, middle-aged men from basketball, recreational basketball.
Too much pivoting.
Popping Achilles, doing pivots and cuts, and there goes the ACL. Yeah. So yeah, just being able to do those things at any given time, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the rugby guys keep me young too. Like, get out there and practice with them on Tuesday, Thursdays, go into contact and stuff. That's always fun. Brings a little. I miss that. Yeah. That's what I miss the most, man. But
absolutely.
Yeah, as far as general population, hopefully they just people realize that you don't have to spend a ton of time, and you can go into it with full focus when you go in there, get it done and be done. Like, hopefully people are spending more time outside. They're realizing how beautiful of an area this is. Like, I was sitting down on I don't even know what bay that is or what beach it is, but somewhere downtown, watching the sunset. I did some pretty sweet photos, and I was just thinking about it, like, man, if there's anywhere you had to be quarantined or in this state that we're in right now, Bellingham is the absolute perfect place to be. It's not crazy busy. It's not super packed with people. Like, you can still go outside pretty much anywhere and have safe social distancing. Yeah, it's just, this place is awesome, man. So hopefully people are spending more time outside with compared to what they have been. So they're getting some nuggets out of that. But
absolutely.
Yeah. And hopefully they realize that they like doing things outside, and then they see this podcast and like, oh, I should work with that Ryan guy.
By the way, as we kind of wrap up here, Ryan, you can find Ryan, even though he's begrudgingly on Instagram, at 365 Strength and Conditioning. Same on Facebook. You'll probably see me sweating my butt off, just, grinding through a workout. But yeah, really everyday training. So it's not necessarily, don't feel like if you're watching this and you're wanting to grow your fitness goals or, improve your fitness goals or lose weight or whatever it is, don't feel like there's not a place for you. Ryan, just like how I run my business, it's really important to me to be working with the right people, a good culture fit. And so what I'll do is, in this video, for anybody that's watching this or has watched this, I'll post all the ways to get in touch with you.
Cool.
Probably not via social media, right? But it can work.
It can. I mean, yeah, social media, so one of the big things, and I suggest this to everybody, don't have your social media notifications on. Like, if you don't need to have them on, don't have them on. You're just getting bombarded with notice, ping, ping. I'm lucky enough that I can, for the most part, live my life with my phone on the moon. It's funny, like, people call me and they're like, dude, I always go to voicemail. Like, is your phone always off? I'm like, no, it's just on the moon. And yeah, it's just who I am. Sorry, guys. But I mean, I do a good job of getting back to people. I've got I've got 3 book plugs. Impulse Society. That's a really good one that I've been reading. It's really, really good. Irresistible. It's about screen time.
Ooh, that's probably pretty important right now.
Yeah, this is huge. And then for more of the athletic population out there, The Mindful Athlete. So talking about mindset and whatnot, George Mumford. This is awesome book. So those are 3 that I picked out of my my library over there that are really good.
Dude, Ryan, I just want to say, first of all, I appreciate you as a person. I appreciate all the time you put into helping me with my mindset. Obviously our group. I love meeting in our group. I love what you're doing. I love your general vision, like your overall vision for your business. I loved hearing about, I'm always concerned when things like this happen. I'm always concerned about the people that are in my life. And then hearing that you're like, oh, dude, I planned for 6 months out. I've actually been reading a lot. I've been doing, like, posting things online. There are certain things about my life that are growing. I just appreciate your general positivity and the way that your outlook is always a solution-based outlook. So I really appreciate you for that. And thanks for joining me on the Pivot series here, Building Bellingham, man.
It was fun. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Oh, we'll definitely do it again. And thank you.
I like this podcast thing. It's kind of fun.
It's super fun. Well, I'll have you on again. And for everybody that was watching, thank you so much for joining us. This will be on Facebook on the Building Bellingham platform, on YouTube. It might show up on one of Ryan's posts if Ryan
it's
social media out. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Happy today, Tuesday.
There's only 3 days now. There's yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So.
All right. We are no longer streaming.